guys, Mama Bear Prepping. So today we're just gonna get into some canning some chicken. I'm just gonna kind of walk you through what I do for my chicken when I can it, but there's 1,000 ways to do it, okay? Like we've said before, you can raw pack or you can par cook. I'm a fan of par cooking for the most part, so that's what we're gonna do today. What you're gonna need just to be able to get this ready is I put my oven on 400 degrees. I like to get it going fast. I don't want to diddle dally and just be waiting all day for my stuff to cook. Then you're gonna get you just like a pan. It doesn't really matter the size. Obviously, get a bigger size if you're doing a lot of chicken. I'm only doing about 10 pounds today. And then you're gonna get a piece of parchment paper inside that. And then I just sprayed that down with a little bit of cooking oil spray. So just a spray, okay? It doesn't matter. Whatever you use is fine, just to help the chicken maybe not stick to the parchment paper so much, okay? So then second, I'm just going to take my chicken, and for most things, if you see my videos, I like keeping the fat on most of the time when I'm doing when I'm canning, right? Because I want that option later to have that fat in case I need it for something later, okay? So now I'm not getting crazy with cutting off the fat, but just the big chunks, that's what I'm doing, okay? And then what I'm doing is, the only thing is else that you'll need, obviously you need a cutting board and your knife or whatever, but I'm making sure that I'm cutting against the grain when I'm doing my chicken, okay? And that's just a trick to make sure that you keep your chicken moist. It keeps it juicy, okay? And helps it for not drying out so much, okay? And then I'm just taking those pieces and I'm just putting it in the pan, okay? And it's okay if it's overlapping in the pan at all. You're just going through and prepping this chicken. There's like a big chunk here I don't want. And getting it in the pan. Now, you don't even have to do this step if you just want to raw pack. So a lot of people raw pack chicken too. That's just getting the chicken, cutting it up, and then actually putting those in the jars and getting ahead of that and doing canning the chicken raw like that when you go to pressure cook it. That's fine, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish up cutting up this meat. I'm gonna get it in my oven at 400 degrees. When I come back, I'll let you know how long it took, and then we'll get into the rest of canning chicken. Okay, you guys, welcome back. So we're just gonna get right into this and start filling these jars. And let me just show you real quick what I have for the day. So I'm doing quart size jars. You can do any size jars you want. I do chicken, or actually a lot of my meats, in both quart size and pint size jars, because it just depends on if you're fixing, you know, a meal for 3 people or if you're fixing a meal for 5 to 6 people, okay? So I like to have both options on the shelf. Okay, so quart size jars, lids, bands. You're gonna need your little funnel. You're gonna need your jar lifter. My Santa's Little Helper is my go-to for pushing down the meat, a bubble popper. And then for this, since I'm doing meat and then I'm doing a broth, I've just got this to help me when I get to the broth part. And then I also have right here some vinegar, so I'll be using that to clean the rims of the jars after I get them filled with the meat. And then I'll be putting the rest of that in my canner. Okay, so let's get started. So one thing I want to mention is, so I've cooked my meat in the pan like I showed you earlier, and what I ended up doing is, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes into cooking, I stirred it up, and then I added a bunch of just minced garlic to the pan, okay? Now, a lot of people do not add seasonings, or they don't like to do too much with what they're putting in the jar, but nobody knows you more than your family. And I know my family, we eat garlic in everything, so really all my recipes adding garlic, that's just one less thing that I have to add to it later, and it will get ate, okay? So let's get into this. So I've got all types of pieces here, okay? And I'm just gonna start filling up this jar. And you might see a little black, that's because I added some pepper as well to this as I cooked it. And the only difference between this, the real difference I would say about chicken, canning chicken, than the stuff I've done before, is it's a 1.5 inch headspace. So normally it's like a 1 inch headspace, but for us today, that's 1.5. And for me, your 1 inch is that bottom rim. So we're just gonna go to about where I have the chicken at right now, and then we'll add the broth, and we'll make sure that we keep it low, okay? So I've got chicken on this hand. So I just wanna be careful touching my jar. And really what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fill up a couple jars for you guys so you can kind of just see how I do it. And then I'll do the rest myself. And then I'll bring you back after I've canned them so you can see what the jars look like, the before and after. That's one of my favorite things to see when I'm watching other canning videos is one, their process, but then two, how does it actually look in the jar after they're done canning it, okay? So let's get some more other pieces. You see I've got pretty decent sized chicken pieces. I don't want that to drip, okay? Okay, you guys, I'm just going to rinse my hand off, okay? So that's where I'm gonna keep that right now, okay, you guys? So now I'm just gonna go ahead and add my broth so we can just see where that ends up being at. Now, all I did was I got regular chicken broth from the store. I think I got the 33% less sodium or whatever. And I just put that on the stove, warmed it up, and added some water to it so it wasn't fully concentrated. But I see people do it all the time, fully. It doesn't matter. I also see people do just chicken bouillon with some water. That's fine. However you want to do it. Okay, you guys, this one's almost full. Now, I think I'm gonna still be okay. What I'm gonna do now is, remember, that's the 1 inch, and then so we wanted to go a little bit lower so that we get our 1.5 inch headspace. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my popper and I'm just gonna slide it down the side of the jar, because what you wanna do is get out any kind of air bubbles. Okay, and if you just go down the sides of the jar, you'll be able to do that no matter what size chicken. Now, if you have much smaller, like little cute pieces of chicken, you could probably go right down the middle because there's so much space. But when your jar is packed like that, that's fine. Okay, so I just want to take a look. So I've got a little bit space now that I debubbled for a little bit more broth, and so that's what I'm gonna do, okay? And then the only thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna push down my chicken a little bit, you know, because I wanna make sure that I get my chicken under the broth. Again, that's not a huge thing, okay? Okay, so that's good. This one's a little bit full, but it's not the end of the world. We'll just take a little bit out. There we go. See how I just took a little bit out? Okay, so now you're gonna take your towel or a paper towel. It really doesn't matter. But you're gonna get your white vinegar and you're just gonna clean the entire lip and edge of that jar. Okay. This is a really important step, especially when you're doing meat, because particles and different stuff get on, like fat is the really biggest thing, because that fat gets on there, stays on there, and then it stops your jar from being sealing, okay? So especially too, if you are adding a lot of seasoning to your recipe, like I added pepper, sometimes I'll get little seasoning flakes on there too, so you want to make sure you do that, okay? So we've popped it, we've cleaned it, and then we're going to put our lids on and we're going to seal these, and then I'm going to get these in the canner, you guys. So remember, finger tight, right? So you just are getting it on there, and then I just do another thing. And then our cooking time, so you want to make sure that you get this stuff printed out too. You know, I'm a big advocate for getting stuff printed out in a physical form, you know, in case one day we don't have the internet. So I've been doing all these recipes and then putting them in my recipe box so that I have them for canning later. But I have all the times and measurements from the food preservation people, okay? So it says chicken, and then today we did it without bones. It tells you your headspace, so 1.5 inches, which we did. And then we're doing quart-sized jars, so that's gonna be 90 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna get these in the canner behind me, and then when they're all done and they're sitting on the counter, that's what it looks like now. And then I'll bring you back after I get done canning them so you can see what they look like at the end, all right? All right, you guys, take care. All right, you guys, here we are. This is what the chicken looks like. So you can see it's kind of, you know, the fat and that gristly, it's kind of settling. But a lot of that at the bottom is the garlic that I put in there. So here they are. They've been sealing beautifully. I only got, again, I didn't have very much chicken to start with. I think I only had not even quite 10 pounds that I did today. So I only got these 5 jars. So anyway, you guys take care. I will let these sit all night before I take those bands off and clean them up, wash them up, let those dry, and then I'll label them. Okay, you guys, much blessing. Bye.